Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is the fourth film in the Indiana Jones film series. It stars Harrison Ford, Kate Blanchett, and Shia LaBeouf.
Get on, Chris!
They had some fun moments, but overall it was pretty disappointing. That's the end. Thanks for watching my review. Check out my web zone for more information about my reviews, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Hit the subscribe button and the like button if you like this video and you want to see more videos like it. This week's shout out goes to user Kaylee319, who says, "Your reviews are great." And user XXSWFan92 says, "Get off your lazy f***ing ass and give us what we want, you fat homo. No one cares about half in the bag." Oh. But I just did the Indiana Jones review. Oh, wait. I guess you want something a little more in depth, right? Okay, let's start this over. Here goes nothing. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is the most disappointing thing since, well, probably the Phantom Menace. I can't recall the last time when such a beloved pairing created such an embarrassing turd. At least not since Chaz Bono. The only saving grace here is that this is just some random crappy Indiana Jones adventure. Lord knows there have been a lot of those already. So it's not like it ruined some very important backstory like another series of films did. But, like the prequels, the choices made here are just baffling. Did you two guys forget to take your brain medicine? You know, the medicine that doesn't make you do crazy things? Because if you needed to borrow some, I've got a lot of it. Number 1, uncovering a mystery. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is a movie nobody wanted to make.
I'm done with this series. It was great. Let's walk away.
It was also a movie that everybody wanted to see. Until they did. And in the end, though, everybody lost. Except for Karen Allen, who got to take a break from her job in a toll booth to once again star in a feature film. I guess whoever got paid to work on the movie won a little too, because they got paid. But the audience had to suffer through another sad chapter from the What Could Have Been Great book that's currently being written by George Lucas.
Indiana Jones and the Attack of the Giant Ants.
The difference this time is that certain elements seem to have been in place to prevent another disaster. We have a competent director named Steven Spielberg, who has continued to make mostly good movies, a fine director of photography named Janusz Can we edit that out? Harrison Ford is back in the starring role, a screenwriter that's not George Lucas, and most importantly, George Lucas isn't the screenwriter, and he wasn't directing it either. He was just helping out with the story and throwing out ideas like he did before. So what the fuck happened?
And that was George's idea. George said, you know, I'd love to introduce Harrison this time playing Indy in the trunk of a car. And I said, that's fine by me.
But you see, like Indiana Jones, I'm an archaeologist of sorts. And no, I'm not talking about finding bones in my basement, because I know how those got there. But I'm gonna look into this mystery to the best of my ability so we could try to solve it. I will put my finger deep into this anal cyst and try to scoop out the truth that I know is down inside that dark cave. Oh my god, look out, it's a giant turd! Let's continue. Let's start by renaming this film. We'll call it Indiana Jones and the Policy of No Refunds. No, that doesn't make a lot of sense. How about Indiana Jones and the Mystery of Why This Movie Didn't Work? Because it's hard to point your finger at one specific detail. Oh my god! Okay, I guess that could be it. But it's more of a blur of bad. So I'm no stranger to the Indiana Jones films. In fact, next to Star Wars, Star Trek, and the Olsen Twins movies, it's my favorite series of films to masturbate to. Oh, I didn't mean to say that out loud. Oh my god, oh my god, oh, I'm gonna come, oh, oh my god, my TV! Oh no, oh it's blasted a hole in my TV screen, oh fuck! Oh, I can't stop coming. Oh. You see, I have every image, every sound, every line of dialogue practically burned into my brain. The Indiana Jones films aren't exactly works of art, though, and they're not really meant to be. They're well-made, tongue-in-cheek action-adventure films that once again pay homage to the old serials of the past that George Lucas and Steven Spielberg enjoyed watching as kids. Or it's those things that inspired them to make movies of their own. You see, these films are less about the characters and realism and more about the spectacle and the adventure. So when the time came to actually make another one of these films, well, what exactly could the thought process have been? I guess this should have started with, we better not. But since they didn't, let's do what I do best. Ejaculate blood into a storm drain. Wait, what? Number 2, what's this next film that no one wants to make going to be about anyway? When deciding to do a 4th Indiana Jones movie, these are the questions that probably came up. Number 1, when do we set it? Well, Harrison is 65 years old, so probably sometime in the late 1950s. Number 2, who are the bad guys? Since the Nazis are gone, the Russians seem like a good choice. It was the height of the Cold War, so that makes sense.
Russians.
Number 3, we need another character gimmick, right? People liked when Sean Connery was in the other one, but he's too old now, and we did that already. Having Indy's son seems to make sense. How about a greaser? Someone that would conflict with him a little, like the dad did.
In the beginning, it was a daughter he didn't know about, and I thought that'd be a great thing. Steven actually didn't like that idea.
And lastly, what's the story about? Well, that was the first misstep. Aliens and Indiana Jones is weird and strange. Could have been good if it was done right, but I don't know.
George Lucas had this idea for Indiana Jones, and it was basically, hey, let's do aliens.
Hey, what about Sputnik? Didn't that happen in 1957? Something Soviet with the Russians.
But George insisted, and he didn't. He said this will be like a B movie. It'll be like those 1950s B movies.
Indy could go to Russia, to Ukraine, Siberia, or whatever. There's a lot of history there, and probably some kind of cool archaeological
It was the
stuff.
idea of taking the genre from the 1930s serials, action-adventure serials,
Stop talking.
to the B science fiction movies of the
Well, maybe the
50s.
Russians have some kind of super weapon, and Indiana Jones is called out of retirement to help stop them.
These are interdimensional beings. They're not extraterrestrials, they're interdimensional. So I said, fine.
But we went with the aliens because that's what George wanted. Why is he so important? Since when does being a billionaire that owns the company making the movie mean you have some kind of say in it?
It is, but it's been a kind of long road to get everybody to agree, and we're not going to do the movie unless all three of us agree on it.
Anyways, you see, Indiana Jones and the Saucer Men from Mars was actually George Lucas's original idea in the mid-90s. It had Indiana Jones running around with a live alien named Goobu, and it also dealt with Indiana Jones getting married, too. A lot of these ideas were eventually shoved into this movie, along with tons of other retarded shit, which is why this movie feels like a hodgepodge of crap from all over the place and not a singular solid idea. What were these people smoking? Cigarettes? Number 3, the Indiana Jones structure. The Indiana Jones films have worked on a basic principle of repetition. Like the verse-chorus-verse structure of a pop song, and like other successful film series, they succeed with the same but different approach. Most people complain that sequels are just the original film done over again. Just a little different maybe. Different location, maybe different characters, but essentially the same story or idea. The James Bond franchise has gotten away with this 21 times. There will always be an exception to the rule, of course, but the same but different theory will usually apply. People don't like things that are different, and they want the same shit that they got last time. Anybody want a pizza roll? Email me if you want a pizza roll. Post a comment on my web zone if you would like me to send you a pizza roll in the mail. People like sameness, predictability, and they don't like to take chances or try new things. That's why we have Applebee's. Oh God, thinking about Applebee's just made me throw up in my own stomach. However, with this film, given the vast amount of time that had passed, I think some kind of risk might have been justified. And I ain't talking about putting in a fucking UFO. The original formula just didn't work here for many reasons. Risk is why I love the Temple of Doom so much. It's because it's unapologetic for what it is, and it took a lot of chances. Willie Scott was there for comic relief, and the kid was there for kid appeal, I suppose. But at its core, the movie was really dark.
We decided to go darker. Part of it, I guess, I was going through a divorce at the time, and I wasn't in a good mood.
It had devil worshippers, child slave labor, guy getting killed by a flaming shish kebab, human sacrifice with the heart being ripped out, and so on. Now you can argue whether or not this is the best or worst film of the series, but at least they took a big risk. The Last Crusade was a good time to play it safe. This is not. So what do I mean by all this? Well, the first three films were inspired by those old adventure serials, right? Traveling, shooting, adventure, discovery, exotic foreign lands and romance, weird cultures, etc. But then they say that all this is a homage to the 1950s sci-fi B-movie.
And I wanted to rest it on a cinematic.
Hey, did I give you permission to talk? This movie has nothing to do with those old sci-fi movies. It's just the same adventure serial crap from the first three movies with an alien thing in it. If it was a 50s sci-fi B-movie, Indiana Jones would spend most of the movie in a laboratory talking to government scientists about things. And then at the end, something might land in the city. Or there'd be like a ray gun or a weird robot thing would try to take over the world. I don't know. What I'm saying is something radically different was needed with this fourth movie. There are other kinds of adventure and action in movies, you know. But that would have been a really big risk to not have Indy do the same shtick and the same formula. Indiana Jones is too iconic for his own good. Anywho, let's quickly recap the basic elements from the Indiana Jones films, so you know where I'm coming from. I assume you've seen the films if you're watching this review. If not, you should get your fucking head checked. 1. Indiana Jones character introduction. Let's start with Indy. Indy always gets a cool introduction to the movies. The coolest reveal is, of course, in Raiders. Oh, snap! In Temple of Doom, he's like cool and suave and wearing a white tuxedo. It's cool because we see Indy in an environment we haven't seen him in before. The third film's a cool reveal too, I guess, because there's a neat transition from youth to adulthood, even though it starts with him getting punched in the face. Number 2, stock characters. Next, Indy formula dictates that we need a main villain, a secondary villain, and the muscle. We had Belloq and Major Tote, Molaram, Chatter Lal, and Donovan and Elsa Schneider. The muscle characters are there to have an elongated fight sequence with Indiana Jones for the purposes of action and or adventure. Number 1 was the big guy by the plane who gets fucking killed in the propeller blades. Number 2 is the bearded turban man who gets fucking crushed by a rock crusher. Number 3 was General Vogel in the tank who gets fucking crushed when he falls off a cliff. Number 3, female lead. The first film is Marion Ravenwood, the second film is Willie Scott, and the third is Dr. Elsa Schneider. And while most of you will argue that Willie Scott was irritating as fuck, at least she was different. In fact, each character was unique and memorable. 4. General plot shit. Each indie film begins with an opening sequence that generally has nothing to do with the main plot. It's just to establish Indiana Jones and to set the tone. The Golden Idol had nothing to do with the Lost Ark. The cremated remains of Nurhaci had nothing to do with the glowing rocks of whatever from the Temple of Doom. And the Last Crusade, the Cross of Coronado, had nothing to do with the Holy Grail. Well, other than the obvious religious symbolism, but remember, I'm talking about the main plot. Typically, then, everything follows the basic structure of an average screenplay. After the opening action sequence, Indiana Jones gets the information about what he's going to go after.
The city of Tanis is one of the possible resting places of the Lost Ark.
So you will go to Pankot Palace?
The Holy Grail, Dr. Jones.
He travels somewhere, gathers more clues and information. Then there's an action scene or two which are interspersed with some new information and twists. Eventually, Indiana Jones is put in the worst possible position where it seems like everything is lost. He's trapped in a snake pit, he's a slave to Molaram, and his dad is trapped in the tank. Everybody's fucked. Eventually, Indy fights back and he's pushed to his physical limitations. He manages to eventually overcome the bad guys, and there's some resolution to the plot. Remember those? And I ain't talking about the one I put my wife in. Number 4, cracks in the crystal skull. Now on to the excrement. The problem with all this is that the crystal skull does seem to follow this pattern enough. You got an opening action sequence, bad guys, the muscle, love interest, plot introduction, travel, discovery interspersed with action sequences, low point, final fight, and resolution. So what went so fucking horribly wrong?
Under budget.
Well, the details for starters, and all the ideas too. Mostly coming from, that guy. The one that wanted the third film to take place in a haunted house.
The original story for the third film was a haunted castle movie. But Steven had just finished Poltergeist, so he said, I don't want to do another haunted castle movie. So I said, okay.
What? Thankfully, we had Steven Spielberg to not let that shit happen, and they appeared to compromise.
And anyway, at first it didn't bode too well, because I think George had a different idea, Lucas, of what it was about.
Or at least he seemed more willing to tell George Lucas that his ideas were terrible.
I'm going to take the haunted castle and put it at the beginning for the teaser.
But this time, I'm not sure what happened. Spielberg either lost his ability or willingness to shut the crap down, or he just didn't care. But regardless of whatever the pre-production process was, Crystal Skull feels like a movie directed by 5 different people, and the ideas of 27 other people all shoved into one movie. So, let's try to make some sense of the structure. Crystal Skull, unlike the other films, opens with a sequence directly tied to the main plot of the movie. Even though I guess finding this alien in the box really had little to do with the Crystal Skull since it was a different alien. Or did it have a crystal skull too? I thought it was the one from the Roswell crash, but those were little short aliens. These other ones were 9 feet tall. It doesn't look like it's the same one. What? Did it have a crystal skull or didn't it? But the crystal skull was from the one alien with the 13 skeletons, right? Who is this? Which is actually one alien. Are there 2 types of aliens? What? The little Roswell ones and the tall ones? Or was there just one alien?
A distant cousin, perhaps. Maybe they too were sent to find Akator.
Oh wait, she just said something about distant cousins. Oh. This whole scene feels like they wanted to have an Indiana Jones movie with aliens in it, but couldn't decide between the Roswell kind of aliens or the ancient South American crystal skull Mayan god alien things. Well, let's just do both.
What is this thing?
The fact here is that most people really haven't heard of the whole crystal skull thing. Just fucking weirdos like Dan Aykroyd know about it.
23 different species are coming because they don't want anything to do with us. I don't think we will ever have a formal relationship, a formal contact with any alien species out there, especially after 9/11.
Most people have heard of Roswell and Area 51 and all that stuff. So that just added to the confusion right there. Let's move on to the reveal of Indiana Jones.
I thought it would be nice to have him trapped in the back of a car with another guy.
Oh. See, I like the hat and the shadow thing, because that always works, because it's cool. But then when we see him, he just looks like a confused old man that's been wearing the same clothes for 25 years.
Put your hands down, will you? You're embarrassing us.
He should have also said, put your hands down, you're embarrassing me. Not us. What are these guys, lovers? Then to add to all this crap, we're introduced to the main villain, the sub-villain, and the muscle, all in the opening scene of the film. We're even introduced to the fact that Mac is of questionable allegiance, so there's little left to discover. I mean, we did get introduced to Belloq in the opening of Raiders, but he wasn't on the hunt for the Lost Ark. It was just to introduce that he was a big asshole. So our main villain is named Ivana Spankoff, and she wants to get the Crystal Skull to control the world or whatever. And then Indy's probably going to fight this Russian guy again. All the information about the whole film is received in the first 10 minutes. Not that these films are that hard to predict, but doling out the information a little slower is preferred. Some twists and reveals are appreciated, and they make the movie more fun to watch. After the opening scene in the Crystal Skull, the rest of the scenes are kind of dull. I couldn't have been more bored when they're looking around in the ruins for whatever they're looking for. I don't know who Ox is, and I don't care.
You're a teacher?
Part-time.
Why did they use that take? You know, the worst one?
Part-time.
There's a wonderful moment in Crystal Skull where Shia, playing Mutt, turns to him and says, "You're a teacher?"
You're a teacher?
And he says,
Part-time. Part-time.
Why did he say it so weird? Was that an outtake? They use a better take in the trailer even.
Part-time. Part-time. Part-time.
Anyway, the ultimate threat in the film, I guess, is that if the Russians get the Crystal Skull, Ivana Spankov will devise some kind of mind control weapon. However, in the very first scene, she proves to be a fraud because she's not able to read Indiana Jones's mind. And we also know that people can't read other people's minds. Oh, well, I guess they can read minds. Indiana Jones, in turn, appears skeptical about her and the power of the skull.
Weapon? What weapon?
A mind weapon.
In the past films, there was a pretty clear threat that both items presented.
The Ark. If it is there, Atanis, then it is something that man was not meant to disturb.
For the unrighteous, the cup of life holds everlasting damnation.
Death has always surrounded it. It is not of this earth.
There was an air of mysticism and weight that loomed over everything. I just didn't get that from this comical skull. Plus it was kind of stupid looking and they kept throwing it around in a bag. In the Temple of Doom, however, the motivation of the film was more about bringing life back to this poor village and saving a whole bunch of kids. Not really stopping an evil force from taking over the world, but a noble goal, and one we wanted to see Indy achieve. Cause little Indian children are sexy. In Crystal Skull, I got the impression that Ivana Spankov had no idea what she was dealing with.
Auto writing, I should have seen this.
Which was ultimately the case. And I never really cared about if the Russians won or not. Neither did Indiana Jones, apparently. In fact, he was so involved with helping them that he seemed confused when Mutt hatched his escape plan. Then constantly exchanging ownership of the skull was of little consequence. Because I knew that they were both going to take it to Akator, and then one of them was probably going to follow the other there. That shit always happens. Maybe we could have had some kind of example of Spankov using the skull to make a bunch of people pacified. Like maybe those FBI guys show up at the end, and they're now loyal to the Russians, showing how powerful the skull could be. Or maybe they show like a film reel of what the Russians plan to do with more skulls. Like the scene from The Rocketeer, which helps paint a picture of what the consequences are, like maybe with some kind of device to amplify its powers. But fighting to stop some kind of quasi and unclear goal is kind of boring. And why was there even all this treasure at the end? Are they competing with the stupid Nicolas Cage movies? What the fuck? He also keeps bringing Mac along, the guy that's been leading the Russians to him constantly throughout the whole film.
Hello, Mac.
How about just to be safe, tie Mac to a tree and come back for him later? You don't gotta kill him, just hide him from the Russians and get him later. You see, I once tied my wife to a tree, and oh wait, I'm sorry. I meant I once put my wife to a tree. Sorry, my memory gets fuzzy sometimes, especially after I drink a couple of fuzzy navels. Oh fuck. Number 5, a never-ending series of bad ideas. Now before I complain more about this movie, I thought it'd be fair to point out some of the things that I actually liked in the film. Don't worry, this won't take long. Despite the material, Spielberg does deliver a lot of his iconic visuals and direction that he's known for. I do like this image of Indy silhouetted against the mushroom cloud, signifying that Indiana Jones has entered the nuclear age. I like when Indy trips over all the fake people. I really like the 50s cafe scene and the subsequent chase scene. The characters are really strong here, and it's a nice mixture of conversation and exposition. And the escape concept is clever and a lot of fun.
Get this guy.
Who?
Joe Collins hit him hard.
Here, hold this.
What?
That's my boyfriend!
The chase is great too. It feels real, and I would have been okay if a chase scene like this was the finale to the whole film. I like when Indy sarcastically asks Mutt if he has a knife.
You don't have a knife, do you?
I like the whole opening sequence when the Russians are having fun with the American teenagers, and then they play the Elvis music. It set the period well. I like that this big thing was actually a practical set. Boy, I was fucking shocked to learn that. I also liked when Mutt jumps out of the water and says,
Hold this!
I like the bare knuckle fist fight at the end, and And then I like when he says,
What are you, like 80?
I like when Indy misses swinging onto the truck.
Damn, I thought that was closer.
And I think that's about it. Most of these are just little things, or stuff in the beginning. But when the story gets going, the movie gradually starts to suck. Like someone pulling a thread out of a sweater, until the sweater eventually sucks. Anywho, back to the movie. We're talking about the ideas, right? So you can point out how a plot has holes or doesn't make sense, or how a character action is inappropriate or forced.
Well, the way you're sinking your teeth into those wobblies,
But whether or not an idea is good or bad is subjective, except in this case, these are all real bad ideas. So let's begin to list all the terrible ideas and missteps in this film. Number 1, making this movie. Well, I suppose that goes without saying. Number 2, bringing back Marion Ravenwood. Not sure what the point of this was. A mixture of nostalgia, or maybe an attempt to put the franchise and the character of Indiana Jones to rest. There is a clear effort to bring things full circle by bringing back the original Indiana Jones love interest and having it end pretty much the same way that Raiders did. They're both wearing kind of white suits and formal wear and walking off arm in arm. They even went so far to tease that Mutt would take up the mantle of his father. I guess Indiana Jones is too old to be having flings with younger ladies. But Marion? She worked as a feisty, jilted lover from Indy's past. One he seemed not to be too concerned with. But the love of his life? Not too sure about that. This all felt kind of forced. That, and after she's introduced, they have nothing for her to do other than to be the driver and to drive the car around. That was her thing, I guess. I don't know. All I do know is that it's been 2 weeks since my last bath. Number 3, having Mutt do things. I like the character of Mutt. Seriously, I don't mind him. And I don't mind Shia LaBeouf either. I think he's a pretty natural actor.
It's just a thing.
Mutt feels appropriate and makes sense to me. It's one of the few things in this film that doesn't feel too forced. Indy had father issues, now he has son issues. In fact, one of the most clever and best scenes of the film is in the 50s diner. Indiana and Mutt are having a conversation. Their mannerisms, the way they speak, it's really clear and strong from a character perspective. There's even some real subtle stuff going on in their actions. Mutt steals a drink from the waitress, and then Indy puts it back, both without saying anything, showing that this kid is really in need of some kind of father figure, and Indiana begins to father him unknowingly. This is one of Spielberg's many skills as a director, getting down and dirty and actually working with the actors and understanding people. Unlike that other guy that sits in the chair. I don't even think he's a human. I think he's an alien.
Get that greaser!
The following sequence is classic Spielbergian Indiana Jonesian action. It's not until later in the film when things fall apart and it becomes a horrible video game. So then, completely out of character, Mutt is set up to have some kind of prior training in fencing.
Fancy prep schools teach you how to debate, chess, fencing.
Oh. What? I guess conveniently he can have a fight scene with Ivana Spankoff. This feels like the stupid-ass scene in the second Jurassic Park film when the dumb girl uses her stupid gymnastics training at the end to knock the raptor out the window. This is fucking stupid.
The school cut you from the team?
Anyway, I should have had to ride a huge Russian motorcycle or something. Hey, remember in Raiders when they introduced Marion as this weird, awesome chick that could hold her own in a drinking contest? That turned out to be a clever reverse setup for the scene with Belloq. You'd think she's gonna try to outdrink him and then escape, just like it was set up. But it turns out she's met her match, because he owns his own winery.
I grew up with this. It's my family label.
And he's a wino. See, this is kind of clever. This is retarded.
Get on your front foot! Repulse!
It's not a match, Mom!
Again, a matter of opinion, but mine is right. Now, time to get back on track. Ha ha ha. Maybe Mutt should have been a tough guy wannabe who was like totally useless until the very end when he does something brave. But having him fight in such a stupid and unrealistic manner seemed forced, and it made Indiana Jones a little pointless. It also drifted into the had to give them something to do realm, which is always a bad idea. Remember Riker when he fought the monster at the end of Star Trek Nemesis? which had no point other than he wanted to get revenge for the monster mind raping his wife. I don't know why you'd want to get revenge on that. You think you'd want to give the guy a $50 bill. See, if a character has to be given something to do, then they probably shouldn't even be there. That's what was kind of magical about the third Indiana Jones film, was that Sala, Marcus Brody, and Henry Jones Sr. were all like completely useless at the end. Indy had to carry all the weight, which made him more of a hero. When everyone's an agile video game character for no reason, it's retarded and stupid. Number 4, Mac.
He may be the most complicated supporting character we've ever had in one of these pictures.
I hate this character.
He's a double agent. But he's a double agent who is forgotten. He's a double agent who don't know who he's working for. I kind of think when he's with the Russians, he thinks he's working for the Americans. And when he's with the Americans, he thinks he's working for the Russians. He don't know anymore.
The only character able to fool Indiana Jones should be a sexy blonde woman or a sexy Indian child. I know him and Mac had a history together of fighting in World War II or whatever, but after a certain point, the double and triple crosses started to make Indiana Jones look like a stupid retard.
You stupid son of a bitch! I'm CIA!
If Mac was CIA, then why didn't he help him escape the first time when they had that chance to stop the Russians from the start? Indy would not tolerate such foolishness and would not be so stupid. Younger Indy probably would have just shot Mac. Number 5, the quicksand scene. I hate this scene more than life itself. The whole point of the scene is just to have Indiana Jones learn that Mud is his son.
He's your son.
First, let's backtrack a bit, though. Shortly before this scene, we discover that Marion is in the Russian camp. Oh, look, it's Marion. What? Mud is your son? Okay, neat. Now we're done with you. You can go back to the toll booth. In fact, when Indiana Jones talks with Oxley, we have to be reminded that these characters are still here with these awkward cutaways. This is the low point in the film for sure, and I'm not making a pun about quicksand. Anyway, because just before that, Indiana Jones is mind raped by Ivana with the alien skull, and then he just goes ahead and continues to help the Russians. He's all gung-ho about helping them to the point where escape didn't even cross his mind. Then they run away. They get stuck in quicksand or whatever it is, and then awkward comedy ensues on what is clearly a soundstage.
I'm calm.
No, it's a dry sand pit.
I'm sinking,
Quicksand
but I'm
is a
calm.
mix of sand, mud, and water, and depending on the viscosity, it's not as dangerous as...
Also, Indy hates snakes. They had to put that in there because it was in the other films.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Now, I'm pretty sure snakes have strong muscles since that's all they're made of. But I'm sure most people were thinking like I was. Isn't the snake gonna rip in half? I mean, it's not indestructible.
You're pulling against the vacuum. It's like trying to lift a car.
I don't know, it just doesn't seem realistic to me. Now go ahead and post comments about how people have used snakes as ropes for years in the Amazon or whatever, you fucking asshole. Then Indy yells to Ox to go get help.
Go get help.
And the first time I saw this, I just assumed he meant to go back to the Russian camp and get them to help. I mean, when Indy's life was in danger before the atomic explosion, he begged the Russians to pick him up in their car.
Sure, great! Don't wait for me!
But then when Ox brings back the Russians, Indy's like,
Good work, Ox. Thanks.
Help.
well, the fuck did you expect him to go get help from in the middle of a jungle? Got 2 minutes before he gets sucked underground. Number 6, the rest of the movie. I'll just stop here because at this point it's all downhill. In order to have a standard Indiana Jones chase scene, the movie invents a fictional cartoon tree-smashing machine that could pave a way through a dense jungle terrain like a video game so that cars can ride through the jungle. Indiana Jones then has a line of expository dialogue that helps reinforce what's happening in the film because no one knows what's going on or where anyone is going.
We gotta get Oxley back, get our hands on that skull, and get to Akator before they do. Grab the wheel.
I don't even know what's going to happen in Akator when they get there. They find more skulls, they find gold, things. So in addition to the weak and uninteresting story, Crystal Skull was also just an endless series of shoehorned visual references and pointless callbacks to make it feel like an Indiana Jones film. Not that the first 3 films were devoid of references.
What's this one?
The Ark of the Covenant.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
But they were far and few between. Each of those movies had a distinct feel. This movie feels like a visual imitation of an Indiana Jones film with somebody's grandpa dressing up like Indiana Jones. But because Hollywood executives like money, and because these guys think they're awesome, they made this movie. So we're treated to a spectacle of dull scenes, pointless references, and terrible cartoony CGI antics to sell another shitty product to the dumb masses. They even opened the film with the classic Paramount logo, which usually dissolved into some kind of similar rock face, except for this time it dissolved into the majestic prairie dog mound. What is it with the damn cartoon prairie dogs? Why do we keep seeing them? Do they put this shit in there for little kids or something? Why is it in here? Anyways, it also feels like the phrase, well, we've got to have this in there too, was uttered about 10 million times during the pre-production phase. Let's take a look at these visual callbacks, shall we? Open up the tomb and hit it, Johnny. Johnny? Oh, this is your tomb. Oh, I'm so sorry. I have the wrong one. There it is. Okay. Running away from hostile natives. Grave robbing type stuff with a torch. Ancient booby trap stuff. Dead body comedy. A dead night guy. Indiana Jones doesn't like snakes. Karen Allen with a thing in her mouth. Putting your hand in a thing to pull on another thing. Indy. Throwing guys off of a truck. Don't touch anything. Rushing water. Going up high and looking down on something. Get your hands off me. Hat over eyes. Joe! Indiana Jones. Weird, gruesome death. Indiana Jones with a rocket launcher, things crawling on you in a cave.
You kind of have to approach this movie as if the others never happened.
Nice try, asshole. Continued in part 2. Part 2. Jonesin' for Indiana. Now enough with the stupid plot. Let's talk about our title character. I would venture to guess that more men like the Indiana Jones films than women. And it's not because they're history buffs, they like racist humor, or they want to stick it in Allison's duty hole. It's because secretly we all want to be Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is the epitome of what all men strive to be. He's handsome, he's intelligent, he punches people, he's single, sleeps around, he's got cash, he punches people, he travels the world, he could sleep with any of his students, he uses a whip, he punches people, he bangs his students in the locker room, women love him, he goes on adventures, he punches people, he can shoot people and get away with it, and so on. I can't stress this fact enough. It's the appeal of the movies. It's not the character. Yeah, I said it. Indiana Jones' character is unrealistic and not terribly complicated. One Indiana Jones adventure is like a lifetime of adventures for a normal person, and he goes on them every day. In real life, this guy's face would be deformed from getting punched so many times. He'd probably have brain damage, or he would have been arrested, or maybe died from some weird foreign disease. It's his invulnerability, his luck, and his charm that make him admirable. He's the man's man from adventure serials. But when he's 68 years old and barely keeping up with the action, you don't want to be him.
Is he too old to play Indiana Jones? And he wasn't at 55. And by the way, he sure ain't at 65.
Part-time.
It's kind of amazing that Lucas and Spielberg didn't understand the core appeal of these movies before deciding to make another one.
And I'm sure he's got another 10 years left in him if he wants to do something like this again.
Sure, they're adventure films and fun and whatever, but it's not the character people like, it's the idea of the character. Because being awesome is inspiring. No one gives a crap what Indiana Jones is doing in 1957, or that he gets back together with Marion Cravenwood. We want to vicariously live his adventures. This is one case where I would have actually preferred a remake. This whole concept can clearly be documented in thousands and thousands of home movies and first amateur films being about Indiana Jones. In fact, many filmmakers' very first movies were little Indiana Jones films. For further example, if you're still not getting what I'm saying because your brain don't work right, Or you forgot to take your brain medicine? The appeal of something like the Fast and the Furious movies is to young men who like cars, speed, women, and being awesome. It's vicarious entertainment. The suburban Latino youth with the souped-up Honda Accord would love to be Vin Diesel, driving whatever kind of car he drives. So imagine it's the future time, and it's like 2038 or whatever, and someone has the brilliant idea to make a new movie called Less Fast, Not So Furious, and then cast all the same actors, and then try to market it to the same audience. Just doesn't work. The appeal of the movie is not Paul Walker's character, it's being Paul Walker's character. This is not awesome. Also, this is not awesome.
No, I mean, I never thought.
This is awesome. Just ask yourself this one simple question. If Indiana Jones was a real character with depth to the point where we actually cared about him, then wouldn't it have been okay for him not to wear his signature costume, right? Captain Kirk wore different uniforms. But you say no. You can't have an Indiana Jones film without him wearing the leather jacket and the whip and the hat.
You could take a still from each of the 4 movies of him in the hat and the coat, and I don't think you'd be able to figure out which one was which.
Spielberg, Lucas, Kennedy, Marshall, and everyone involved in the project would instantly dismiss that idea. That's precisely because the character is just the hat.
The hat is great, the whip is great. Harrison looks great in the hat with the jacket holding the whip.
No one wants to be old, and no one wants to get this girl in the end. They want to get this girl in the end. I suspect this is the reason why they cast Shia LaBeouf in the film as Indy's adventurous son. But Mutt is a totally different character. He's not intelligent, experienced, or worldly like Indiana Jones. He's not really worthy of the adventure. He's like a dumb idiot that dropped out of school, and he's not the focus of the movie. And to make matters worse, this movie is a lame-ass, watered-down movie, even though it didn't appear to be on the surface. You may not have noticed it, but your brain did. Now on to my favorite subject of all. Number 7, murder! Another real problem with this film is the lack of grit. Sure, people die, but it's cartoony and often indirect. What do I mean by indirect? I mean, Indiana Jones doesn't fucking murder anyone.
Those people are trying to kill him. I know, Dad!
You see, everyone is always trying to kill Indiana Jones. So in turn, if you fuck with him, he'll kill you right back. Now, I've analyzed these films with a team of dead people in order to catalog how many people Indiana Jones murders by his direct actions. Let's take a look, shall we? Raiders of the Lost Ark. He shoots this guy right in the face. He shoots the gunman. He shoots the sword guy. He shoots the first Egyptian guy in the truck. Then he shoots the truck driver in the head. Then Indiana Jones intentionally rams a car off a cliff, killing 3 Nazis. Then he throws the guy in front of the truck, certainly dies a horrible fucking death. 9 direct murders. The Temple of Doom. Indiana Jones' first murder comes in the first 30 seconds of the movie when he kills a guy with a flaming shish kebab. Then he shoots the Tommy gun guy in the car. He throws 2 guys into a flaming lava pit. Uses the counterbalance of a guy getting killed by a rock-crushing thing to pull himself up to a catwalk instead of helping him. I don't blame him, that guy kept fucking hitting him. Causes a deadly minecart accident, killing at least 4. Lastly, Indiana Jones intentionally cuts a bridge in half, causing 11 people to either fall to their deaths or get eaten by crocodiles. Total direct murders, 21. The Last Crusade. Indiana Jones purposely kicks a guy off a boat to drown in the ocean. Murders 3 Nazi soldiers in cold blood with a machine gun. Intentionally traps 5 people in a room to burn to death, including a woman. Most likely kills this guy in a motorcycle. Kills 3 Nazis with 1 bullet. Total direct murders, 13. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Shoots a poison dart back in the mouth of some guy. Total direct murders, 1. And I'm just assuming that guy died even though the poison dart would have been facing the other way, right? He does look like he dies from being poisoned. Big deal. Who hasn't killed some tribal guy by blowing into his blowgun backwards to make him choke on his own poison dart? I did that just last week at the Safeway. You see, Indiana Jones films need to be brutal fucking movies where lots of people die horribly. Murdering people is heroic. And I don't give a damn if your Hollywood focus group and market research people tell you that kids like these movies. Fuck kids. Fuck the elderly. Fuck families. Fuck everyone. This Crystal Skull movie is fucking weak. Whoa. It's fucking Shark Week. I don't mean weak like a shark. I mean the Shark Week show. I don't like it very much. Oh, thank God my pizza rolls are done. I need to take a break from thinking about this movie. Plus, I'm kind of hungry. Perfect. I like it when the goo just starts to come out. Hey, wait a minute. Is that cat poop I smell? Fuck! My cat's pooped again. The guy at the pet store said they would never poop, goddammit. And my litter box is right next to my oven. This fucking smell of cat poop is gonna make me sick. Now I gotta get down on my old knees. Oh! And clean out that smell. It's gonna make me throw up. This crap. Well, at least cleaning up this cat shit has momentarily made me forget about this Indiana Jones film. Wait a minute, what's this? Oh no! It won't leave me alone like the stink of cat poop. Fuck everything. Take it, take it. Fuck this movie, I'm gonna snap it. I'm gonna snap it like Bambi's neck and then make it look like she killed herself in the bath. Oh wait, number 8, Indiana Jones and the Politics of Doom. The very first line Indiana Jones says in this movie is wrong.
Russians.
I have a feeling Indy was supposed to say, Russians. I hate these guys. As a reference to his previous line,
Nazis. I hate these guys.
I haven't actually bothered to look into this, and I could be wrong, but that's just the impression I get by the way he said it.
Russians.
Like it got chopped in editing or something? I'm sure someone at least suggested it. Where I guess we wouldn't want to offend anyone, would we?
Sneak! Surprise!
Whoops, too late for that. This is where some of the problems come in, and I gotta deal with some delicate issues. And they ain't talking about my panties. Now, the obvious choice for villains given the era is the Russians. But there's kind of this odd way of dealing with the whole issue. First of all, I've always seen Indiana Jones as apolitical. He was never Captain America, USA, USA. Nor was he G.I. Joe, USA, USA. Oh wait, I mean Captain Adventure Man and Multinational Joe. He was just an archaeology professor and a pretty cosmopolitan guy. Technically, he was an American, yes, but he seemed sort of almost above nationalism and would look at things from a more worldly perspective. This is why I always found it kinda odd that Indy was involved in World War II. Sure, he was smart and capable enough to be an OSS agent, but to me it was just a college professor that went off on archaeological adventures, not a military guy. That's why this briefing scene always felt a little weird to me. I know Indy wouldn't have been some kind of pussy, conscientious objector, because he did fight in World War I when he was young, but at this stage in life I don't know about secret missions or whatever. Not exactly wrong per se, just felt a little odd. Maybe it just would have been some kind of history or military advisor or something. So to placate making the Soviets the bad guys, Spielberg and Lucas take reverse pot shots at the US for some reason. Now for those who haven't read a history book or are too busy twittering, let me give you a quick history lesson. There was once a senator named Paul McCartney who did these hearings to try to find Russian spies and stuff. Now, there were some actual convictions of Russian spies, yes, and there's still actual Russian spies today. Hey Anna, call me. My name is Harry. I want to spy on your pie. I mean, I want to translate into Russian. And that's all I got. So these hearings really got out of hand. People got blacklisted, careers and lives were ruined, and paranoia was rampant. They call this whole phenomenon Adam Sandler films. In fact, Arthur C. Clarke's play The Crucible about the Salem Wolfman trials was a metaphor for all this. Then I guess to show that we too can be narrow-minded idiots, the FBI guys are played to be comical, paranoid villains questioning Indiana Jones's patriotism.
In the middle of the United States of America, my country.
Then for no reason at all, they show the silly communist protest rally at the college.
I barely recognize this country anymore. The government's got us seeing communists in
Shut up, I'm talking. Now, stuff like this did really happen. I'm just not sure how prevalent it was, especially on a college campus. Sure, there was paranoia during the Red Scare, but in the 1950s, college students didn't protest. That was more like the late 1960s when everyone was on drugs and the Vietnam War was happening, and they were protesting to stop the war. A pretty clear objective. My point here isn't exactly on the historical accuracy, but rather what was the overall point of the whole paranoia subplot. It went a lot further than just to establish the mood of the country in 1957, because ultimately, story-wise, it had no purpose, and served as a detriment to the overall film. So after being accused of being a communist spy...
You recognize the gravity of your situation. You aided and abetted KGB agents who broke into...
Indy then gets fired from his job as a professor.
So you're firing me?
And then that causes him to get onto a train and run into Mutt. That was what everything led to. Nothing. Mutt could have just come to his house, or shown up at the college. How did Mutt even know that he was going to be on this train? Anyway, the point I'm trying to make was that there was no point. Seriously, there's not even one scene at the end where the FBI guys show up and say, "Hey, Dr. Jones, I guess you're not a communist after all. You've proven us wrong. Please accept this fruit basket as an apology."
Dr. Jones, let's just say for now that you are of interest to the Bureau.
Of great interest.
And while Indy does get his job back at the end, there's no mention about the communist plotline again. This whole subplot served no purpose whatsoever other than to show that Americans can be just as bad as the Russians.
But frankly, your association with George McHale makes all your activities suspicious, including those during the war.
Then if their angle wasn't transparent enough, Max says this.
Well, what can I say, Jonesy? I'm a capitalist.
Okay, since when is one guy being greedy attributed to an entire economic system? I've seen lots of other characters in movies sell out people for money or their own self-interests.
How can you do this? You're a mutant.
I got 4 kids to feed.
They try to grab a bunch of valuables at the end while saving themselves or whatever.
What's in the bags?
Money.
Whose money?
Watch out, get out, quick!
But I've never heard anyone ever say,
I'm a capitalist.
Huh? Seriously. People have been greedy since the dawn of time. I'm pretty sure Lucas wrote that line himself, because he's the most fervent anti-capitalist I've ever seen.
Spend the money, come on, honey. Let's lend it, spend it, send it rolling around.
It's this quasi-tiptoeing around what's good and what's bad that leaves this movie with this bland feeling. Ivana Spankoff makes this threat.
We will change you, Dr. Jones. All of you, from the inside. We will turn you into us. And the best part, you won't even know it's happening.
But the film goes to great lengths to point out that Indy is already brainwashed.
Good to see you too, Bob.
Just on another side, so what's the difference?
Do you have any idea how many medals this son of a bitch won?
3 times I have received Order of Lenin. Also, Medal as Hero of Socialist Labor.
He's gonna get switched over to another ideology that's portrayed pretty much equal in nature. Paranoid.
The FBI showed up this morning, ransacked your office, searched all your files.
Militaristic, xenophobic, nationalistic, whatever. The film makes no effort to say in any way that the USA is the good guys,
and we were threatened with treason,
and the Soviets are the bad guys, so why the fuck should I care? But in a movie where the threat is that the Russians are trying to make a super weapon, they make a point to show that we already have a super weapon, giving the bad guys a pretty understandable motivation that I could see myself agreeing with.
But now this next level of weapon is ours to have.
Hey, you guys get that mind weapon before these paranoid goons nuke Moscow. Go, Ivana. You go, girl. The film is about a hero fighting against bad guys, and when the filmmakers can't choose a clear side, it affects the overall film. So who are all the other villains? Well, let's take a look, shall we?
What a fitting end to your life's pursuits.
That time is past.
I seem to remember that in Honduras you were accused of being a Grail.
The healing power of the Grail is the only thing that can save your father now.
You're a hard man to read, Dr. Jones.
Keep your politics in your pocket. Number 9. Things I just didn't understand. There's a few minor things that don't make much sense to me. I'm going to tell you all about them now. If you know what it meant or what happened, please email me at IDon'tGiveAShit@IndianaJones.com. Number 1. When Mutt throws Indiana the knife, it lands on his shoulder. Then he knocks it into his hand. We hear a ripping sound. There's a cut to Mutt, and Mutt's like,
oh shit.
And then in the next shot, Indy is free. I thought at first he dropped the knife, but then he didn't. He just cut himself free. What was that ripping sound? And what did it mean? Did Indy split his pants? What the fuck is Max saying at the end? Indy throws him the whip, and it's like, hang on. Wait a minute, what was that? Was that the Kurlan Neskar? What was that doing here? How did these aliens get it? Did they glue it back together? Did they bring it back? Ah, fuck it. Then Mac looks at him and he winks and he says,
I'm gonna be alright.
I'll be alright. What? Did the alien vortex make his mind weird? What the hell does that mean? Is he excited to get sucked up into the vortex with all his capital? 3. I understand these Indian guys guard the secrets of whatever they're looking for, but did these people just sit in the walls all day waiting for someone to come into this place that no one has ever discovered? Wouldn't they get bored? Do they get breaks? Are they ghosts? Oh, I guess not, because they all got shot.
This is fresh. These were just used.
Oh, the torch was warm. I guess they saw them coming and then decided to hide inside the walls. So if they saw them coming, why would they then hide in the walls and break apart the walls that they spent so long carving? Do they just wait around for someone to find this lost city that no one's found in 10,000 years or whatever? 4. Indiana Jones pronounces nuclear wrong.
What exactly am I being accused of besides surviving a nuclear blast?
Not sure if this is a joke or a mistake. He is a college professor after all. What do you guys think? Let me know. Post a comment on my web zone, and don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Hey, so why did Mac wait so long to betray Indiana Jones? He could have done it at the moment that they picked him up in Mexico. Did he want to ride in a hot trunk for 1,000 miles with him? I once put one of my grandkids, and I forget which one, inside the trunk of a car to teach him a lesson. Unfortunately, he didn't learn the lesson because he died. Why did these boxes explode? When cars hit things, they don't always explode. Maybe they were filled with explosives. Was Marion Ravenwood wearing a push-up bra? This is a question that I feel is very important to ask.
So why did Mutt need to bring along his motorcycle on the plane? Why did they feel the need to do that if he didn't use it at all later in the movie?
Hey, this is my thing.
What?
This is my thing.
What are you talking about?
I asked the questions.
Well, I have some questions of my own.
You're not even remotely related to this movie. You're from a fucking Star Trek movie.
That doesn't mean I can't ask questions.
Get the fuck out of my video.
What?
I said get the fuck out of my video. Number 10, the ending. Or just let's just talk about the ending or whatever. So they bring the skull into an alien room with the dead alien skeletons sit and do nothing. So were the aliens all like one creature? Was the alien alive all this time and just stuck in our dimension in 13 skeleton form? The room spins around, but it wasn't a room. Apples. But it was the inside of a flying saucer. Then Ivana Trump has the skull and it flies out of her hand and it sticks to the neck of one of the guys that's missing his head. How did the alien lose his head? Then the aliens combine into one cartoon alien. Catalogs. Why did one creature have 13 skeletons? And then Ivana says things and then evaporates. Then everyone runs away. And then we see that it was an alien space saucer. The flying saucer is like the one that crashed into Roswell. Was that from another dimension? Why didn't the film tell us what happened at the end? Did they just make this ending up on the spot? cows. So aliens came to Earth and they buried their transmutational spaceship underground and pretended to be gods with golden thrones, and then collected up a bunch of artifacts from around the world, showed the Incans or the Mayans or whatever the fuck these people are how to build a building, a pyramid, and then one alien cut his own head off and then buried it in a ditch, and then they all waited around in thrones for someone to put their head back on so that they could all stick together and become a creature. That creature would look at them and then they would all turn into a vortex and suck up everything, and then the spaceship would turn the thing, the Mayan temple would collapse, and then water would make a new lake, sucking everything up and any trace that they have been there. Porcupines, why didn't they just leave 10,000 years ago or go back? I don't even know what the fuck happened at number 11, the grandfather clause. If they make Indiana Jones Part 5 with the same team, I'm just not sure it'll work again. That is, unless Spielberg and Lucas regrow their testicles. It was the 80s. There's simpler times, and they weren't grandparents. I think Karen Allen explains it all best right here.
With Steven, he's a different man, really, in many, many ways. I mean, in many ways, he's the same man, too. But, you know, I saw the filmmaker when I worked with him the first time. And working with him now, I see the whole man. And it's beautiful to watch him with his kids. He just became a grandfather, and you know, it's beautiful to watch the excitement that he feels. I think, you know, we've all grown up. We're all 25 years older. I mean, I wasn't married, nor did I have a child then either. So we've all become parents. So it's particularly satisfying to come back together, I guess, with such a huge gap. So you're meeting the same person, but you're meeting a person who's really grown, and it's great.
I mean, the films do have some pretty terrible ways to die, but all the realism was lost. The grittiness was gone, as was the propensity for casual violence. Thing is, these two filmmakers are more mature, more responsible, and less risky.
This is crazy! Somebody's gonna get hurt!
This is a result of age. Trust me, I know I'm 116 years old. They've got families to think about, box office returns, and the kids. Don't forget about the kids. These movies should be for everyone. In Raiders, a monkey gets poisoned to death. In the Temple of Doom, they eat monkey brains. And in Raiders and Last Crusade, live snakes and rats are burned respectively. That means like in the order that I said them in, whatever. In the Crystal Skull, there are happy prairie dogs. And silly monkeys that are cutesy. In fact, one opportunity to kill an animal is thwarted. Don't worry, kids, he hung on and made it. At least they had the nerve to squish a bug, although I'm sure they cleared it first with Petty. Come to think of it, I don't think we ever even see a human physically get shot in this movie ever. You know, with the blood burst and all. The first thing that stuck out to me was when the Russians ambushed the US base. They machine gunned like 4 or 5 soldiers, and it's all off camera. Where's Paul Verhoeven when you need him? They show the dead soldiers being dragged off, but there ain't no blood. That's the gunshot? You call that a gunshot wound? They also shoot all the Indians too, but again it's off camera. That's it? You call that slaughtering Indians? You shame the memory of General Custer with this movie. If they showed the initial murders of the US soldiers in the beginning, it might have helped to make us not like the Russians. Then these guys die and it looks like a cartoon video game. Wacky hijinks happen. Russians fall off the cliff. Indy punches people off the truck, but no one ever gets violently machine gunned to death. Marion doesn't kill 9 guys on a truck in cold blood, and Henry Jones doesn't casually fire a tank shell into a truck with 19 men, killing them all with no remorse.
It's war!
Whoops, Indy dropped the gun and it went off and he ran away. Yay! Just like a Saturday morning kids show. Because there's some punching and shooting and explosions and chasing, you think it's an Indiana Jones film, but it's not. There's the illusion of grit, but it's missing the teeth. From Wile E. Coyote's rocket antics to the bone-crushing, concussion-inducing, and internal organ-damaging fridge scene, to Marion Ravenwood's wild theme park car ride. When you got people in a vehicle without fucking seatbelts, 3 of which are elderly, slamming into the water with that kind of force and no injuries of any kind, well, I could see the tension dissolving right before my eyes. The Indiana Jones films have never been the most realistic films. They've been filled with hokey action and time-expanding Spielbergian editing. That much is true. But when you have 2 filmmakers who seem to be trying to compete with other contemporary action films and video games, and who are seemingly unwilling to show graphic, realistic violence and want to make a fun for the whole family type of movie, it's a very bad combination. And even after a 2-hour-long action chase scene, this classic bare-knuckle Indiana Jones fight scene with the Russian guy is the best thing about the whole end of the film. Hey, why don't you take your phony green screen with you and go off to Hollywood? Oh, wait. The problems are basically this. 1. Indiana Jones can't be old. 2. Indiana Jones needs to murder more people. And 3. The action needs to be realistic and practical. Spielberg has matured. Not just as a filmmaker, but as a person. And he wants to keep these movies a little cleaner. Hey, anybody want to watch E.T. with me? Long gone are the days of the simple and fully practical truck chase scene, or the excellent tank sequence. Now, I'm totally okay with doing some things you can't do practically with a computer, like, say, this, or all those little things that would just be really difficult to do. But the jungle chase sequence didn't really need all the stuff. It was enhanced to such a point where it started to look fakey-fake to me. Now, to be fair, miniatures, rear screen projection, green screen, and matte paintings were essentially the CGI of the past, but at least it was all real. Most people had no idea that half of the minecart chase was all in miniature, because it was pretty seamless. The jungle stuff just kind of sits with you wrong. Something's not quite real about it, and your brain knows it.
Let's not move Indiana Jones into a 21st century techno thriller.
What did you just say? And lastly, since you can't change Harrison Ford's age, you might as well just stop making these movies.
What? Cut, print, beautiful, we got it.
Spielberg himself said he was done with the series.
I'm done with this series.
There's really not much more you can do with it, or the character. It just feels like treading water. I mean, he did find the Holy Grail. Spielberg ended The Last Crusade with Indy riding off into the sunset for a reason.
Because I thought that brought the curtain down on the trilogy, and then we were all going to move on and mature into other aspects of filmmaking, and I never thought I would ever see Indiana Jones again.
Kind of like the Enterprise at the end of Star Trek VI. But they once again drug him out of retirement for one last shot at embarrassment. Wait, how did these sports images end up in my video? So other than the obvious, why was this movie made? Maybe Harrison Ford wanted a little boost to his ego and his career after such hits like Hollywood Homicide and Firewall. Maybe it's the bloated egos of these legends trying to recapture their former glory. Or maybe it really is that they just have lots of fun making these movies. I'd like to think it was as simple as that.
I was happy to do another Indiana Jones film just because they're so much damn fun.
I guess we'll never know, will we? All we do know is that this wasn't the movie that the fans wanted, if they really wanted a movie at all. We all love Indiana Jones, yes, but everybody needs that part of their brain that says, we better not. You know, it's the part of your brain that turns on when you crave something that you know you can't or shouldn't have. And then you stop yourself. Well, my friends, it's time to go. My wheelchair is calling, and it's starting to get dark outside. I'll leave you with these thoughts. Smart lad to slip bedtimes away from fields where glory does not stay, and early though the laurel grows, it withers quicker than the rose. Eyes the shady night has shut, cannot see the record cut, and silence sounds no worse than cheers after earth has stopped the ears. Now you will not swell the rout of lads that wore their honors out, runners whom renown outran, and the name died before the man. So set before its echoes. Wait a minute. I can't stop reviewing movies. Who's gonna review Lenny the Wonder Dog starring Andy Richter? Shit, I ain't even close to done yet. Fuck this. I gotta get a copy of this movie. Fuck that movie. Fuck dog movies. I gotta review the Matrix films. I gotta talk about Terminator Salvation. Oh shit. I gotta review the Twilight Saga. There's fucking 4 movies I gotta watch still. Who's gonna stop the travesty of Avatar 2 when it comes out? Shit. I gotta talk about the Phantom Menace in 3D, and Attack of the Clones in 3D, and Revenge of the Sith in 3D. Shit, what about Red Tail, the new George Lucas flop? I gotta talk about that.